Bright signs, travelers.
Hey, Bright Suns, everybody! Thanks for joining us for week number 3 of
Yeah.
Mando Mania. We've had so much to talk about. We're planning on covering a couple of episodes each week, but that first week, we just ended up talking about the panel where they first talked about the show and
Mm-hmm.
at the Star Wars celebration in Chicago, and then we
Mm-hmm.
talked about Chapter 1, Episode 1. And then last week we got through episodes 2 and 3, and so today we're going to do our best to get through chapters 4, 5, and 6. Now, we had a lot of Disney news to talk about at the beginning of last week's stream.
We did.
But this week we're hoping to dive right into things. Welcome in to Jeffrey Resendez. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for being here, Jeffrey.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate your support. And
always.
Let's see. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up, Mom, at the beginning?
I can't think of anything. We're just going to jump right into this. But I did want to say we had a fantastic stream Tuesday night on Hitchhiker Chat. It was our celebration of our 1 year on a YouTube anniversary. And so if you guys want to go back and catch that, we had some great guests. We had Jeff from Diz Our Dream. We had Michelle from Monarch Moments, Amy from AJC Magic TV, and Russ from What in the World with Russ. And so we really had a great time.
From T. McNeil.
And one of our great Ghost Coast moderators jumped in with us. We were so happy to see her. She's usually in the chat instead of on the stream, and she decided to hop in. It was a great stream. Y'all can check it out.
There you are. Speaking of Tina, there she is in the chat.
Always watching, Tina.
Always watching.
There she is. Oh man, it's good to see you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I think we ought to jump right into to episode the Sanctuary episode. Should be episode 4. Is that it?
Yeah, chapter 4 is as they refer to it in the Mandalorian. So I do wonder if they're whenever they start up season 2, whether or not they're going to go back and say like if it'll be chapter 1 again of episode of season 2, or if they'll continue on chapter 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, so, they may do it that way. It would make sense if they're going to do chapters, but for just for organizational purposes, to know what chapter it was. So they may do that. Hey, big Disney fan, how are you?
Welcome in, Keith. Thanks for being here.
Okay. That's fine, Keith. Life happens.
Absolutely.
What's for lunch, guys? What's everybody having for lunch?
I'm probably going to end up heating up some leftovers and try to keep since I'm working from home, I try to keep things pretty simple. And with us doing the stream during the lunch hour, I try to just eat a quick bite.
Yeah, I'm still drinking coffee, which I'm normally not doing at lunchtime, but I'm still drinking some coffee and probably going to do some chicken salad or something. But we made some great characters in this episode, Sanctuaries, chapter 4. I love the characters in this. I love the direction of this. Bryce Dallas Howard actually directed this particular chapter, and I love her direction. I love all of the pieces to this story. You were saying, William, when we were talking before the stream, that it's your typical Western in space, which is the whole series, really, the whole show. But this particular episode, I think, showcases every piece of that in one chapter.
So 100%. This I've thoroughly enjoyed chapter 4, Sanctuary. Like you said, Bryce Dallas Howard did an amazing job. This episode. See you later, Keith. Have a good one. And Jeffrey, I'll let Jillian know that you said hi. Looks like Jeffrey's eating a calzone and Tina's eating leftover steak sandwich. So sounds like we're eating pretty well today.
There you go. We're all doing good.
So the chapter 4 Sanctuary actually reminded me of a couple of episodes from Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series. Season 2, episode 17 of the Star Wars: The Clone Wars animated series. There's an episode called Bounty Hunters, and Anakin and Ahsoka train some villagers on a planet called Felucia.
Okay, I do remember that one.
So Felucia hired 4 bounty hunters to protect them from Hondo and his pirates. Hondo, of course, we know, most people know Hondo at this point from Smuggler's Run.
Sure.
But Hondo's one of those characters, it's those that know him, he kind of blurs the lines a little bit. He does what's in his best interest at the time.
He does. He does. So he can be friend or foe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then season 5 of Clone Wars, episode 2, there's an episode called Freedom. It's called A War on Two Fronts. And there are freedom fighters on a planet called Onderon. And you see Saw and Stella Guerrera, and Ahsoka goes there because she's reached out to by her friend named Lux Bonteri. And so they train, these fighters to fight against the foes that are coming after them. So
I remember those episodes.
I got a lot of those vibes in this episode. I thought it was really cool. So the planet, we see at the very beginning, the planet's wooded, very much reminds me of Endor. And the Klatooinians attack right there at the beginning. It starts off kind of with the bang, and they kind of reminded me of like the orcs from Lord of the Rings. And they did.
I had that same thought. They're hideous. They're really ugly, and they did. I thought the same thing. They kind of look like orcs, and they attack this peaceful fishing village of people. And I did want to mention that. Julia Jones plays a very prominent role in this. She plays Omera, and she really does a nice job with it. She was one of the more prominent villagers, and enjoyed her. She played Leia in Twilight.
Yep.
But
she's also in Longmire as well.
She was in Longmire.
Now it's a Netflix show.
Yeah, I recommend Longmire. It's a really good Netflix show for those of you who are always watching, always wanting to see something new on Netflix. Longmire is a really good one. But yeah, this what happens is they're attacked. The village is attacked, and Mando, who lands on this planet to kind of escape all of the bounty hunters that are after the child and now him, for what happened in the sin. They have landed on this planet to hide out. They're essentially seeking sanctuary. And you want to pick it up at the bar scene?
So sorry.
Cara Dune is introduced in this chapter. I love Cara. I absolutely love her character. Looking forward to seeing her in next season.
And so you see him flying in, through space. The child keeps touching things and messes with the ship, just like all little kids do.
Very cute.
And Mando says, "You little womp rat," talking to the child, and you can tell already at this point that Mando is getting attached to the child, and the planet's called Sorgan. Now, Mando goes to get off the ship to check things out. Yeah, thanks, Jeffrey. That's so nice.
And thanks, Garrett. Thank you.
And so Mando gets down to go check things out, and he turns around to the child and says, "Now don't touch anything," and he says, "Stay." and of course, if you've ever tried to get a kid to stay whenever they want to go check something out, that's not happening. So really tons and tons of cuteness in this episode from the child. That it's so baby, the child's just adorable. But they walk into the restaurant. We see a loft cat, the little cat-like creature.
They do. In the restaurant in the Clone Wars, the animated series,
and Rebels too. So we get our first sight of Gina Carano's character in this kind of restaurant. I don't even know necessarily. I guess almost kind of cantina style place on this planet called Sorgan. And he asked the waitress about how long Cara Dune had been there, because I'm sure he's probably skeptical just looking at her.
Oh yeah. He knows.
And so she asked for a porringer of broth and also gets a flagon of spotchka.
Yeah.
For the child to eat. So Mando, of course, is trying to keep an eye on Gina Carano's character, Cara Dune, and he sees her disappear, and they get into a heated, quick brawl, and
outside the restaurant.
Yes, outside the restaurant. He's kind of got like the heat signature tracking, sees her footprints, and follows her out. And then she kind of jumps him, and this scene really, I think, showcases Gina Carano's UFC fighting background.
Yeah, no question.
So those that were unaware, Gina Carano, Cara Dune, was the actor that plays Cara Dune, was a UFC fighter. And so I think this really shows her physicality. There's some grappling and everything. And
very muscular. Just very. She's very attractive. I think I really love her. I love the way she plays this character. Big fan of hers.
Yep. Definitely one of my current celebrity crushes for sure. I apologize, Jillian, if you ever watch this episode. But
Spotchka does sound Russian, Tina.
It does. It really does.
It does. Yeah.
But they end up with almost. It's really funny the way the fight ends, because they almost have like this Mr. and Mrs. Smith moment where they both have the gun, the blasters pointed at each other simultaneously, and then the child's just. They pan over to the child, and he's just standing there sipping his soup while both of them have a blaster pointed at each other. And Mando breaks the tension and says, "You want some soup?"
It's really cute scene. Yeah, so, this scene has pretty much everything. Yeah. It has all the pieces.
Oh yeah, it's great. So we go back into the little restaurant cantina area. And Cara says she saw most of her action mopping up on Endor, which obviously referring to the Battle of Endor, where the Empire is defeated, and that's in Return of the Jedi, which is technically Episode 6, but was the third movie to be released. And you get into the whole that confusing numbering system, but the rebellion beats the Empire. And so she's referring to, she's next shock trooper. So she was with the rebellion, and she knew Mando was a guild member and thought that he had a bounty on her. So that's why she, was so physical with him and went after him so hard. But these farmers, end up approaching Mando, and they are krill farmers, and they're willing to give everything they have, all the money, all the resources they have to try and buy protection from Mando for their village. And once, basically, Cara Dune and Mando talk, and she's like, "Hey, I've already claimed this this planet. This town isn't big enough for the two of us."
Right, kind of
as Woody would say. And so, these farmers come up to Mando, want protection, and he says, "Oh, you have lodging in the middle of nowhere? I can sign me up, and give me the money too." Right.
But, which Cara later refers to as lunch money.
Lunch money. Yeah, it's so funny.
It's not very much. They're these farmers, so they enlist Mando. They enlist Mando's help. Mando enlists Cara's help.
Yeah,
he knows he's probably going to need a little help.
Yeah, and you see various scenes of the child playing with the village children. It's so cute. Obviously, the child, kids are intrigued by and love seeing other children. Sure. It's important to have that socialization too. It's very important. Jillian would be proud to hear from a developmental standpoint to have that social interaction with other kids. But yeah, so. We're introduced to Omera and her daughter, Winta, and they prepare the barn for Mando to stay in. And she asks about Mando's helmet, and he says that he hasn't shown his face to anyone since he was a kid. And again, I very much space western vibes. You've got this beautiful widow that is talking, interacting, taking care of the hero,
the damsel in distress.
Yeah, and so we do see in the scene Mando. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
Attraction.
Mando does remove his helmet, but you don't see his face. You see him set it.
Yeah,
he there on kind of the windowsill. Yeah,
she brings him something to eat, and he takes it off to eat. Mm-hmm. So,
and let's see. Mando recruits Cara, and they go out kind of on a recon mission and see there's like a giant Imperial Walker ATST footprint. And then it cuts back to Mando standing there in front of these villagers, and he says, "Bad news, you can't live here anymore."
and even Cara goes, "Great bad side men are there."
Mm-hmm. So funny. And so the villagers say, they're like, "We want to protect our land."
We ain't moving. Basically, we're not leaving. And so Mando is just set on this. He sees no other way. And Cara kind of picks up the mantle and is trying to tell them, you can't stay here. It's a big planet. You can move. And they're saying, no, our farms, it takes forever to see these farms.
We've lived here for generations.
Yeah. And so we're not leaving. And Cara says, well, you don't have a choice because you don't know how to fight. And at that point, the story goes where it eventually will, because Mando says, unless we teach them how to fight. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where, that's where it's headed. But that's how it turns to then them gathering the villagers together, their target shooting, their Mando has enough arms, I guess, to
shaping wooden spears.
Spears. So they're getting ready, to take on these bullies, these raiders who come into their village and take everything they have. So they formulate a plan. They have a plan. And
so come up with a plan. They train the villagers. Mando and Cara attack the Klatooinians, and they draw out the ATST. And that scene where they go into the Klatoonian camp and get into a fight with them, it gets a little bit dicey because it's a race against the clock, because they've set an explosive to blow up. And
charges.
They just barely get out in time.
Yeah, so they're really they want to provoke them to the point that they will chase them into the woods and follow them back to the village where the villagers are lying in wait, as it were.
Yeah. Welcome in, happily ever yachty. Glad you're here.
Oh, thanks for popping in.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that. It's good to see you.
Yeah, glad you can make it. Tina, that's a good point. That's a lesson of history. You must fight for what is yours, because someone is always willing, comes to take it away.
There's always somebody out there in there, Tina.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of where this heads.
So they are successful. They draw out the ATST. It chases after them, and they head back to the village. And obviously, the Klatooinians are, they're big bullies, and and they know they've got the big gun, in the ATST with them, and Cara says, I've seen firsthand the destruction that this thing could do. That's why she was so adamant in warning the villagers, like, this is dangerous.
Right. They can blow you off the face of the planet, basically, with this one. This one ATST. So so it chases them all the way back to the village, and they try to draw it. They want it. ATSTs are pretty unstable. They've got two mechanical legs, right?
And so anyway, they wanted the ATST to step into one of those krill ponds. Right. And that way it would lose its balance and fall down, and they could take it out. And so
the ATST is a kind of a smaller version of the Walker, the Imperial Walker, which you've also seen in the Star Wars universe. And but the Walker has 4 legs.
Yeah.
The ATST is the smaller one that just has 2.
Yeah. But so yeah, they try to draw it into the pond, and obviously, like who knows whether or not they actually saw it or if it was just luck. But it walks just up to the ledge of the pond, and they're like, "We need it to take a step forward." And the thing starts shooting at the villagers, and the Clitonians come and try to attack. And then finally, Kara borrows, and this is a big display of trust, in my opinion. Borrows Mando's rifle because this thing. That thing's capable of disintegrating people, and she borrows the rifle, sneaks up close. The ATST spots her, and she shoots a perfect shot right through one of the eye holes of the ATST walker, and then it and it's just enough to get it to take that step forward. It falls over. Mando throws an explosive into it, and they wipe out the ATST. And just like bullies do. The Clitonians go running when they realize that they no longer have their prized ATST to help them bully these krill farmers, this village.
And of course, while all of this is happening, the krill farmers are engaging them hand to hand. Taking out a lot of them because so many times even you think, well, how could poor farmers take on these big bullies, intimidating, what have you. Well, the krill farmers are fighting for their home. They're on their home turf. They are fighting for their livelihood, for their homes. And people fighting for their homes are motivated. Yep. And so they whoop them.
Yep.
They whoop them.
So they get sent. They head for the hills. They retreat. And then there's a celebration throughout the village, and you see Mando, you kind of jumps forward. O'Mara has a conversation with, "Hey, welcome in, Carol. Right, Thanks Carol. For being here."
Man, appreciate it. They're celebrating. Everything is calm again.
Yeah.
This village is pristine. It's peaceful. Yep. The people are peaceful. It's a wonder. The child is right at home. Mm-hmm. As she notes, he quote fits right in.
Yeah.
With the children, he's happy. Mm-hmm. Mando's happy. They've run off the bad guys, and so this is what they've saved the day. They've saved this village basically.
They've saved the day, and even Kara says, you could you could live here, like you could you could hang it up, right. And O'Mara
armor, marry that young widow and sit here drinking spotchka for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So, and O'Mara
was tempted. He is very tempted.
Oh, for sure. You could tell there is a little bit like he takes it under consideration for sure.
He considers it.
And then Mando says, if I took the helmet off, I could never put it back on. Right. And he decides, he really, it's peaceful. Every kid, the child fits in.
I think he thinks about it.
Yeah, he does. And he decides that he wants to, like he says, I want to leave him here with these people. And O'Mara, bless her heart, agrees to raise the child as one of her own. She's prepared to.
Yeah. Mando realizes that he says he doesn't belong there.
Yeah. But it's no life for a kid.
Right. Traveling with me, it's no life for a kid. So he talks with O'Mara, and O'Mara says, I'll raise him. After O'Mara offers, and says, stay here with us. We want you to stay here with us. And she promised, and he says, I don't belong here, basically. Yeah. And she promises to watch the kid and to care for him as one of her own. Yeah. That really tender scene is interrupted by blaster fire.
Yep.
And
so you see kind of as they're talking, you see kind of this laser, like almost kind of like a scope sight, and it focuses in on the, at first it looks at the scope, looking through the scope, looks at Mando. You see this creature that's a bounty hunter, and then Kara just happens to save the day and takes out the bounty hunter, and
the child.
And then before he's got the child's right there in the sights, and she takes out the bounty hunter, and Mando realizes that he cannot leave this child here because more people will come for him.
Right, because he, obviously the bounty hunter has a tracker, and he knows that there are going to be more trackers, and they're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. Yep. So he realizes that neither one of them can stay.
Yep. And so that pretty much wraps up that one. Kara does offer her services to Mando, but they end up splitting up and both going their separate ways, and that pretty well wraps up chapter 4, which was just a lot of fun. In my opinion, it was one of my favorite episodes of all of season 1.
Mine too, absolutely.
So we want to go straight into chapter 5.
Let's go straight into chapter 5.
All right.
The gunslinger.
The gunslinger. So opening scene starts off. There's a starfighter battle between Mando and this other bounty hunter. The enemy wants Mando to hand over the child, and it's funny because he even he's kind of got the upper hand. He's got Mando behind, in front of him, trying to shoot him down, and Mando's maneuvering away from fire, and he tries to use Mando's line on him, and I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. And it's funny because Mando makes a really evasive maneuver, basically like cuts off the power and then slams back in, so he stops, and then the other fighter slams into the back of him a little bit, and then Mando shoots him, blows up his ship, and Mando says, "That's my line."
So end of that particular bounty hunter. But it damages Mando's ship. It damages his ship really badly, and so he realizes that he's going to have to dock and try to get some mechanic work done on the nearest planet, which turns out to be Tatooine.
Yeah, Mos Eisley. He lands at Mos Eisley Spaceport, which we remember. Obi-Wan Kenobi says, "You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." I can hear Alec Guinness, his voice saying it in my head right now.
That's right.
But
so that's where we're landed.
So we land here at Mos Eisley Spaceport on Tatooine. Tatooine's famous for having the twin suns. Right. And you can think back to the original Star Wars, which we now refer to as A New Hope. Right. And just those scenes, it's that very desert planet. And so Mando lands at in the hangar, and we see these little pit droids, these little repair droids that kind of pop up and down, and those droids are really funny. And Mando basically he lands, and the repair woman, let's see, Peli Motto. Yeah. And she comes out and kind of scopes things out, and says, "Ooh, it kind of does the typical repairman bit."
It's got
yeah, it's it seems like all repairmen or mechanics always seem to find more than you think's wrong with your vehicle anytime you take it in. But she looks it over. He doesn't claims to not have the cash on him, at least at the time, but says, pretty much, "I'm going to get a job. I'll be able to pay you." And she calls him a womp rat. And we see Mando walk through the streets of Mos Eisley on this planet Tatooine, and we see some stormtrooper helmets on spikes, which is kind of a reminder of, hey, we really hate the Empire here.
The time frame too.
Yeah,
it's a testament to the time frame. Obviously, they've been on spikes for a while, but it's
because they're worn and dirty.
Yeah. It's a definite message, obviously.
Yeah. But Mando makes his way over to the cantina, and it cuts back to
the cantina.
The cantina
from A New Hope. Remember, we are on Tatooine, and so when he walks into the cantina, I was like a kid in a candy store. I thought, oh my gosh, this is the cantina, where Han was sitting in A New Hope, and where Obi-Wan and Luke book passage on the Millennium Falcon, and the whole thing starts with Star Wars. So this is kind of where it all began. This is the refuge of the scum and villainy, where all of it begins. And what really, really excited me is that, Mando walks in and says, basically, I'm looking for work. And the droid behind the cantina says that the guild is no longer active here. And so, but then, a voice from a very familiar booth says, wrong again. Because so Mando turns to see this young, cocky, would-be bounty hunter who's trying to get into the guild, wants to get into the guild, and his name is Toro Calican, and he is sitting in the same booth as Han was sitting.
Yeah, he's even got his feet propped up on the table like Han does during that scene with Greedo.
Yeah, very, for Star Wars fans, it was very, very reminiscent of the original Cantina scene. And when he turns around and the kid is sitting in the same booth, I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool. So so the kid basically, he says, I'm after this, his quarry, his bounty is for Fennec Shand. Fennec Shand is notorious, much too much for this young kid. Mando knows that. Fennec Shand is played by help me, Ming-Na Wen, which is her. Great, really excited to see her back in there. But he's going after Fennec Shand. Mando says she'll tear you up. You can't, she's going to kill you. You can't do that. You don't have the experience. So basically, he enlists Mando and says, I'll partner with you. All I want is to get into the guild. I'll give you the full bounty.
Yeah.
So Mando agrees to it, signs on, and it's going to be a bad decision.
Yeah. And Fennec Shand even did work for the Hutts. Is something that so that's Jabba and Jabba's relatives. And so you could tell this is a very elite mercenary, like you said. And Ming-Na Wen, the actress who plays her, a lot of you who have watched was it Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will recognize her, and she was in that. So it's really good to see her in this episode. I think they'll bring her back because of the way this ends. I think it's not the end of her in this episode, so I think we'll see her again.
Let's see here. So there's a quick scene where the Peli Motto, the repair woman, is playing sabacc with the pit droids, and Mando says, I don't want any droids working on my ship, and so but anyway, she's sitting there playing sabacc, and it's funny, which I didn't notice, which Dad was the one that picked up on this.
It did.
Two of the pit droids are actually cheating while playing sabacc because you can see one pass a card to the other one under the table.
Yeah, it's really funny.
And so it's really neat. Peli Motto finds the child and makes a joke about charging the Mandalorian extra for having to watch the child. Right. And really it's so cute because he comes out of the ship, and she's like, "Oh, go get the blaster," because she hears a noise, and it frightens her and tells one of the droids to go get the blaster. And the child walks down the ramp and sticks his arms up to be held, right. just like little kids do, and just like you probably saw me do a million times. Yeah.
So Pele's, maternal instincts kick in, and she tells the droids to go get it something to eat, and she says, "Well, I don't know." The droid mumbles something unintelligible. She says, "I don't know, something with bones in it." Yeah. Really cute thing.
Yeah, so, the quote that stuck out to me. Yeah. She
said, "I'm going to watch you, and then I'm going to charge the Mandalorian extra."
Yeah. And the other quote that cracked me up in that scene was, she says, she picks him up, and she's cuddling the child. She said, "Did that bounty hunter leave you all alone on that big nasty ship?" Yeah.
That's really funny.
So she immediately takes to the child.
She does.
And so Toro Calican secures a couple of speeders, just like Mando asked him to, and they, head off on their journey. Now Toro does notice the child, but he doesn't think anything of it.
He does, yeah. He does see the child, but he doesn't. He obviously has no background, so he doesn't. He just kind of brushes it off. He doesn't think anything more about it.
Yeah, so we continue on the speed bikes across the desert, and they come up on some, Mando tells them to stop. You can really tell Mando's quarterbacking this thing and trying to train the kid up.
Right.
And they see some banthas and Tusken Raiders in the distance. And, and Toro kind of, macho says, "Oh, they better keep their distance," and talking about the Tusken Raiders, and he said, "Well, why don't you?" Mando says, "Well, why don't you tell them that?" And they're literally standing like 10 feet away from Toro.
So they have to barter to get across the Tusken Raiders' land, which Mando throws him a pair of brand new baaa-acks that the kid is not too happy about. He says, "Those are brand new," and Mando said, "Yeah, they were."
Yeah, they were.
So that buys a passage safely across, and they're still on the lookout for Fennec Shand. They as they go across the desert, they run across a baaa-ack. They come up on a ridge. They run across a baaa-ack dragging a bounty hunter, and when Mando goes to check it out, they realize that the bounty hunter is dead, and Mando is like out in the middle of, he's like unprotected out in the middle of the desert. And somebody takes a shot at him. Of course, it turns out to be Fennec Shand, who has a bounty on Mando. So, but at least they do locate. That's how they locate Fennec. But they're pinned down. They end up waiting till nightfall to make a run for it. Fennec Shand, basically waits them out, and they do end up cornering her. She does shoot out one of the bikes, but they end up cornering her and taking her, putting her in cuffs, and they're going to try to get her back then to Mos Eisley. Yeah. But they have only one vehicle. Mando says, "Okay, I'm going to go find the baaa-ack so that we have, so we can all get back. You on the bike and maybe one of them ride the baaa-ack." And so Mando agrees to go hunt it and says, "Watch her, don't let her get near the bike. Watch her. Basically, don't do anything stupid, kid, and I'll be back for you." So, and then you want to pick it up there.
Yeah. So a couple things, during that sequence, Mando, like you said, gets shot a couple of times by Fennec Shand.
Yes.
And it hits him in the best car. And he says from this distance it held up, because Toro asked him, and Toro's like, "I don't have any best car armor." It's like, well, pretty much, well, you better hope you're lucky.
You wanted this. So.
Yeah. And they use the flash charges to get in close. But while they're waiting for nightfall, Mando's sitting there, propped up against a speed bike, and Toro, thinks he's hot stuff and thinks Mando's, passed out, sleeping. And he starts, he calls him an old man. He starts playing with his blaster, drawing it on Mando, like he could shoot him at any time. And Mando's just sitting there motionless. And the kid keeps pretending to draw on him, and he says, "You done?" And it startles him a little bit. But so Mando goes off to find the, they end up capturing Fennec Shand. And Fennec asks Mando about Navarro. So we see that word has spread already about what happened on Navarro, where Mando, the chapter called The Sin, where Mando goes back, gets the child, rescues it, breaks the code of the guild.
Right. So Fennec Shand, knows about this, and which is why she takes the shot at Mando, because she wants the bounty. And she also, the other reason she gives is she also tells the kid, while they're sitting there, she's trying to obviously turn the kid against Mando. And she says, so Mando, takes all the money and he makes all the decisions. And, he says, but you have something more valuable than me, and you don't even know it. And the kid, who's, clueless, novice, obviously rookie.
Yep.
And his Beskar alone is worth more than the bounty on me. So she talks to him a little bit there, gives him enough information that
plays into his ego.
Plays to his ego, typical trying to drive a wedge and what have you, to the point that she thinks he's going to let her go.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of surprises her on that one. He actually shoots her. Instead of taking the cuffs off, he shoots her and she crumples up, falls down, and he gets on the speeder and heads back to the spaceport to try and get Mando, because he realizes that
to get the child too.
To get the child,
because Fennec Shand mentions the child. She said word has it that he still has the bounty with him.
Exactly,
and then
puts 2 and 2 together, and it's child. So he puts 2 and 2 together and says, this is my shot to take both of them in. Not only will I be a guild member, I'll be a legend.
Legendary. Yeah.
So
100% plays into his ego. He wants to make a name for himself, and he's like, man, if I can do this job, I'll go straight to the top.
Oh yeah.
Fennec Shand tries to give him some advice and says, talking about, if you're going to do this bounty hunter lifestyle, make the best deal for yourself and survive is the tip that she gives. But
so he does. He takes her up on it.
He shoots her.
They're in the desert, heads back to the spaceport, and is laying in wait for the Mandalorian when he comes in. Yeah.
And one thing that after Toro shoots Fennec, he says, "Who wouldn't want to be a legend?" was one thing that stuck out. And so he's got the upper hand 100%. He's got Peli Motto under the gun, with blaster on her back. He's holding the child whenever Mando shows up, and and the Toro tells Peli, the repair woman, to cuff Mando. Mando's secretly got a flash charge, and Peli says, whispers, "You're smarter than you look," to Mando. Mando pops off the flash charge, and it's enough to temporarily blind Toro, and that buys Mando enough time to pick up his weapon, because he dropped his blaster. Pick up his blaster real quick, and drop Toro where he stands, and he gets him with a blaster fire after the distraction, and so Toro's the young bounty hunter with aspirations of grandeur is yet another victim of the Mandalorian.
Really of his own arrogance.
Yeah, and there's a reference to Beggar's Canyon, because basically Peli Motto says, get it, get the body out of here, and the Georges are like, where are we going to take it? She said, I don't know, Beggar's Canyon. Beggar's Canyon. So Mando, the ship's fixed. He gives all the money to Peli Motto, the repair woman, and so they lift off and head on their way. And the end scene, we see Fennec Shand's body, still laying there in the desert, and we see a caped figure walk up to her body.
Dark boots and pants.
Yep. Walk up to her body and take a knee next to the body, but we never see the face. We don't see anything other than legs and the cape. Right. So, we see a figure that's dressed like this later on in the series. Moff Gideon. Is it Moff Gideon? Who is this?
I think it's Moff Gideon.
Yeah, you don't see enough, but that's what you're kind of. Well, we find out about this character later on in the series, but that's what it leads you to believe. Because it would make sense, because Moff Gideon is trying to track down Mando. So this just goes to show yet another person is pursuing Mando and keeping tabs on him, following after his trail. So, all right. Anything else you wanted to mention on Chapter 5?
Not really. I think we pretty much covered it. I enjoyed this. This was not really one of my favorite episodes. It was a fun episode in that we do get to go back to Tatooine. I think the lady mechanic is just a lot of fun. I think her interaction with the child is really neat. But it's not one of my favorites. But again, Peli Motto kind of wins me over in this scene. I enjoyed it.
All right, me too. Yeah, same here. Pretty much, copy ditto to everything you said. So on to chapter 6 called "The Prisoner."
Mm-hmm.
So
and the prisoner is a great. It's all of the chapters are great in my opinion.
Yeah.
I love every episode of The Mandalorian. This one is high stress because Mando goes back to some old friends of his, and maybe not as friends is too strong a word. Acquaintances, colleagues, perhaps.
Former colleagues of less than reputable reputation.
Right, other bounty hunters he lands, and the character's name is Ranzar Malk, and he has a spaceport.
That's cool. I didn't know his full name. I'd remembered him being referred to as Rand. So I didn't know his full name.
He's played by Mark Boone Jr. And his full name is Ranzar Malk.
Cool.
So Mando goes back, goes to him. Mando is still thinking about making money. He's still kind of wanting a job. So he figures, why not do this? He does tell the child as they're approaching this space. It's basically a space dock. This is probably a bad idea. And so, that really turns out to be a bad idea. Rand has a job for him. He pairs him up with 4 really shady characters who some of whom Mando has worked with before. And he only gives Mando half the story, basically. He says, we have an associate of ours who's run into some problems, and we need you to basically bust him out. And one reason I need you here is because the Razor Crest will basically literally fly under the radar of the Imperial prison housing the guy that they're trying to break out. So they need the Razor Crest is one reason that they enlist Mando for this. But the characters that they pair him with are highly questionable, and you're immediately clued in as to their lack of character. And they are Mayfield Berg.
He's a bald white guy who basically has like military style vest on. Right. And he's got a really cool backpack blaster that pops up over his shoulder like a little mechanical arm comes over the shoulder and has a blaster attached to it. That was cool, but this guy is totally a jerk.
Yeah, well, all of them are really.
Yeah, he's a former Imperial sharpshooter, and Rand says he's one of the best trigger men I've ever seen. But he is a big time jerk. Rand talks about all these old times. You could tell Rand is talking about these times with Mando where they used to go on these adventures and do probably questionable things. He's talking about it very, very fondly, and you can kind of get the feeling that Mando isn't as fond of these memories as Rand is.
He keeps saying that was a long time ago.
Yeah. So Mayfield sees the Razor Crest, and he says it looks like a Canto Bight slot machine, which Canto Bight was the planet that we see in The Last Jedi with all the gambling going on and the creature racing and all that. So, Mando's introduced to the team. You've got Mayfield, the bald white guy who's running point on the mission. He says basically, Rand says, if he tells you to do something, treat it as if it came from me. So he's giving all the power to Mayfield. And then we've got Berg, which is a big red guy. He looks like a devil.
You've got the droid Zero. You also have Xion, who is a Twee.
Yeah, Twi'lek.
Things, y'all may remember her.
Yeah, the tendrils. They're kind of almost kind of like Ahsoka. There's there's a Twi'lek that dances for Jabba if you've seen the original trilogy. And so they've got like these almost kind of like tail-like things, coming down on either side of their head.
And she obviously, at one point there was some sort of relationship between them, or you kind of get the idea that maybe she imagined a relationship.
She refers to, insinuates there was a romantic relationship.
There's a background. So this is the team, as it were. They take off in the Razor Crest, and they go through space during that trip. We'll just quickly cover this. During that trip, while they're on the Razor Crest, all of these ruffians are below deck, and the droid flies the ship because he's, Mando's not happy about all this.
Yeah. The droid is very cocky. He says that I can move faster, like my reflexes are faster than an organic life form. And so the droid's pretty cocky about its abilities. All of these are very, none of them have any likable, even the droid is cocky.
No redeeming qualities.
Yes, exactly. No redeeming qualities to Mayfield, to Berg. He's a Devilronian, which sounds a lot to me like Devilronian. Right. And that's what he looks like. He's got he's a big red dude with horns coming out of his head, and he's the team's muscle. So, these are all very not likable people, and they all decide they want to bully Mando.
Right. And they do.
Yeah. And then they want to take his helmet off, of course. Yeah. And, there's a bit of a brutal.
And the compartment where the child is hiding, or where he stays, is accidentally opened. And so the child is revealed to all these ruffians. And of course, as a viewer, you're going, oh my gosh, he's, and Mando's more than a little agitated and worried. Eventually, they say it's a pet, and, all this, it's all meant to ruffle Mando's feathers. Mando does get the child back in the compartment and closes it before they dock with the prison barge, but they have seen the child. So that
was weird. Can you still see me? Okay, good. My picture froze up for just a second there. Hey, Carol, have a great day. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Carol. Appreciate it.
So let's see here. So they're all jerks. There was a line there, and Mayfield says something like, "Oh, the Mandalorians are supposedly the greatest warriors in the galaxy," and then the big red guy Berg says, "Then why are they all dead?" These are just really big time jerks. You see the child. They want to pull off. They're like, oh, they're trying to peer pressure Mando into taking his helmet off. Xion makes reference to him never doing that. She mocks him and says, "This is the way," and knows that he lives by a certain code. And they all poke fun at him. They fight, and then they see the child. Mayfield is just a huge jerk. He's a big time bully. He sees the child and he's like, "Oh, I've never had a pet before, but I may give it a shot with this one," trying to lay claim to the child. The droid doesn't, so there's the Mayfield, this bully is standing there holding the child, and then they come out of hyperspeed, and they have to move very distinctly into position to go unnoticed and undetected. But so they get to the point where they're going into they dock, and they are entering into this ship, but it's basically a giant prison cruiser for the New Republic. And they all enter in one by one, kind of scoping things out. The group stands by. This is the first time we see Mayfield's backpack blaster pop out and kind of look around. And they're walking around. You see some very interesting characters all locked up in these different cells. as they're walking through this cruiser trying to find, basically the control room. And they come up on these robots, these security droids, and Mando, that they're all looking around. They get into a firefight with these droids, and they look around for Mando, and they're like, "Oh, he abandoned us." He basically, they're like, "Oh, we knew it would happen." Then Mando shows up behind
the droids,
and just takes them all out. He uses he does all the work, and Xi'an wants to help him at one point, but Mayfield stops her, and basically, like, they're leaving him to fight all of these security droids all by himself, which he does an incredible job. But this scene really tells you cannot trust this group of shady characters. They express no gratitude for him bailing them out and saving them. In fact, Mayfield says, "Clean up your mess," and then the Berg said, bumps shoulders into him as he walks past him. And these guys are real jerks. They make their way into the control room. There's a guy named Davin.
Ship's supposed to be unmanned. It's supposed to be only manned by droids. Mando tries to save his life and basically tell him to shut up and do what they say. And he doesn't have sense enough to do that. And while they're kind of fighting over what to do.
They get into a standoff between Mayfield and Mando, and even Berg. Xi'an throws a knife at him, takes him out, but it sets off the tracking beacon. So they have 20 minutes to get out of there.
Right. And so, but they do find out which cell
Quinn is
in, and I guess when they go and spring Quinn, that's the first time that Mando realizes who they're trying to rescue. As he said, he recognizes Quinn. He's obviously had, dealings with him, knows him to be a shady character. He is Xi'an's brother. So he's also Twee. And so when the doors go up, the cell doors go up, Quinn comes out, and when they go to leave, they shove Mando into the cell and close the door. And they have full intentions of leaving Mando on the prison ship. So and they go off, which doesn't turn out very well because Mando hijacks one of the droid guards and escapes in no time, and then of course starts tracking down all of the
it's awesome,
his colleagues, stalking each one of them to take them out before they can leave the ship with Quinn. And there are a couple of really good moments there where there's like an alarm going off and the light is flashing, and it's very Alfred Hitchcock-ish, horror movie-ish.
Well, Mando,
every time the light flashes, Mando appears in a different place behind him. He's essentially stalking him, and of course, takes him down. Mayfield is no match for him, obviously. And so Mando does, and he asks him. He says, "Where is everybody else?" And Mando says, all he says is, "They got what they deserved." They got
what they deserved, which Quinn thinks. Quinn thinks he probably killed him. Because, quite frankly, that's what these characters deserve.
That's what they deserve. And so you wonder, okay, what did he do? So you don't know yet.
Exactly. And so my first instinct was, he probably wiped them out because that's what they deserve. Right. But it's so Quinn says he appeals to Mando, which to me, this guy obviously has no character, but he wants to appeal to Mando and say, aren't you a man of honor? Don't you know that if you don't take me in, you won't get paid? And so he's trying to say whatever he can to Mando to get him to rescue him off the prison ship. Because Mando is the only one left standing. And so, I think he's afraid at that point that Mando might just kill him, because obviously they have had some dealings together and they are not friends. So Mando decides to take him back to the spaceport, back to Ran. And it's a real race against time because the Zero, the droid, is kind of keeping everybody informed while they're in the ship. And then he kind of decrypts the message from Grief Karga and finds out about the child because he sees the child. And so like while all of this is happening, Mando is taking out each member of the gang one by one.
Right. And meanwhile, back in the Razor Crest,
the child is hiding from this droid that wants to kill him.
Trying to kill him because the child comes out of hiding. The droid sees him and begins to hunt him. And so that's all transpires behind the scenes while we're watching the prison scenes. So
and then we see the child standing there, and he's prepared to use the Force on the droid, and then boom! Just all of a sudden, the droid's blasted and falls down, and it's it's really funny because the child looks at his hand like, "Did I do that?" So it's great.
And you see Mando, with this blaster. Mando takes him out before he can kill the child, and brings Quinn aboard to take him back because he wants the bounty. Obviously Mando has kind of figured out a way to handle this, which includes taking Quinn back for the bounty. They make it back. The Razor Crest lands in the spaceport, and Quinn comes out, kind of triumphantly cocky, hugs Rand.
Like the cat that ate the canary.
Exactly. Oh, I made it back. Quinn says, where's the rest of the team? Mando says,
remember, no questions.
No questions.
No questions asked.
Okay with that. Rand's okay. There's no honor among thieves. Rand's okay.
He pays, 100%. He pays up.
So he pays.
Mando goes to get back on his ship. Mando says, just like the good old days, which is what Rand had been talking about. And so it's fantastic because Mando gets in the Razor Crest, and flies off. He leaves this starship, and Rand goes to double cross him, and he gives the order to have Mando killed. You see this ship get prepared, to catch Mando off guard, but Mando was playing chess while they were playing checkers.
Exactly.
You hear a beeping, and Quinn pulls out the tracker, the New Republic tracker that had been activated by the guard on the Star Cruiser. And all of a sudden, you see Mando passing off into the distance. There are 3 X-Wing fighters that fly in towards Rand's starship. And here's a fun, so I don't know who all has seen this, but it took me 2 times watching this episode to realize there are some very special people flying these X-Wing fighters.
Yeah, the X-Wing fighters
they're piloted by Dave Filoni, Rick Famuyiwa, and Deborah Chow, who the characters respectively are named Trapper Wolf, Jib Dodger, and Sash Ketter. So 3 of the directors from season 1 are the X-Wing pilots.
Yeah. Did anybody else notice that? I had not noticed it, and
I finally noticed it.
William noticed it. I'm surprised I didn't recognize Dave Filoni, especially because I'm such a fan of his. But that is so cool. Did anybody else notice that? But the X-Wing fighters are the directors.
So cool.
So cool. We were really excited.
So the X-Wing fighters come through. They take out Rand's starship. Rand tries to escape in a ship, and they blow the whole place up. And Mando jumps to light speed, and he's out of there. And while he's in light speed, he unscrews the knob that the child had played with previously and hands it to the child. It's on one of his control panel levers for his ship. And he unscrews it and gives it to the child. And he tells the child, I told you that was a bad idea. And so you see more of this playful banter between the Mandalorian and the child. It's so much fun.
Just, at that point, this episode, and I know we need to,
we'll try to wrap it up. But hey, we finally caught up.
We did. We caught up. This episode was extremely stressful for me because of the character of all these, golly, and they're all really good characters. They all play their parts well. The actors who play these bounty hunters are fantastic because you hate them. There's no, like I said, no redeeming qualities at all. And so it's very stressful. How is Mando going to get out of this? Great episode.
It ends like we said. It cuts to this prison star cruiser, and in the cell are Mayfield, Berg, and Zion.
Yeah.
They tried to double cross Mando, and he got them and gave them what they deserved, in his own words.
Which is a stretch in the Gray Bar Hotel.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yeah.
Great episode. Very much episode. Some horror and kind of suspense feeling with the red lighting throughout the Star Cruiser, and then the flashing lights. It very much builds the suspense.
Yeah. This is just quickly. This is what's flashing behind me. This is a lanyard that I got in Galaxy's Edge, Garrett, and it lights up. It's great. The lanyard even lights up. So yeah, pretty cool. So Garrett wanted to know what that was. It's the Millennium Falcon. Holding it behind me. Yeah. So great episode. We really enjoyed it.
Sorry we went a little bit over everybody, but we really wanted to get back on track so we can keep on schedule.
Yeah. We have just quickly a couple of channel announcements. Next week, Chapter 7 is The Reckoning, and Chapter 8 is Redemption. And both of these are excellent. So you guys, join us. Then if you're watching on the replay, thanks so much.
Thank you.
And we know a lot of people can't join us at lunch, so we really appreciate you joining us on the replay. I dropped a vlog on just recently on the great merch that William and Jillian brought back from Walt Disney World, and that's up on the channel. So watch that. And on Hitchhiker Chat on Tuesday for October 20th, we're going to have Amy from AJC Magic TV as a guest. So don't miss next week's Hitchhiker Chat. It's on Tuesday night, and it's at 9:00 Central, 10:00 Eastern. And then on Hitchhiker Chat for October 27th, we're going to have a special treat to celebrate the return of The Mandalorian, October 30th. That's going to be kind of a different Hitchhiker Chat, kind of a different episode. It's going to be, that's a surprise. So y'all be sure and put that on.
Tune in.
27th. And also don't forget Jillian's show on Saturday. It's at 8:15 Central, 9:15 Eastern. And she does What's Brewing with the Bones. She has a great show this Saturday planned for you. So coffee and enjoy a little Java with Jillian, because she's enjoying that stream. She's really enjoying that. So what was it she said she was going to talk about, William?
She talked about Disney, the recent announcement of Disney swapping to offering their movies on streaming versus the movie theaters. So
that's right. So check it. We've got lots of good streams coming up, guys.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you joining us again. And just if you're on Team Replay, we appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We love all of our viewers and really appreciate you.
Yeah, I think Joy.
Speaking of viewers, shout out to Aunt Joy. Thanks for always watching. Jeffrey Resendez, Tina McNeil, DCS, BDF Keith, big Disney fan, Monarch Moments, Happily Ever Yachty, and Car Key. And if anybody else commented, I'm sorry I missed it, but we want to thank you for being here.
We appreciate it. Yeah. So, guys, we're gonna sign off here. Enjoy your lunch. If you've already had lunch, that's great. We haven't yet, but I'm gonna go grab something. But thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Again, please like, subscribe, and also ring the bell so you know when we go live. And we're looking forward to being back in the parks next month. And feel free to reach out to us. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Oh, Tina says, did you folks see that they also extended the reservation system through mid-January 2022? Whoa!
Yeah,
the park reservation system? I did not see that. That's crazy.
Wow.
But thanks for the heads up.
Yeah, we hadn't heard that, Tina. That's big news. I wasn't.
That's crazy.
Go that far, but I guess we're going to do it for another year. And there's no law says that they can't rescind that if they need to.
That's true. Exactly.
changed their mind on it.
Was it Josh D'Amaro that said he really liked, or was it Bob Chapek that said they liked the reservation system because it gave them an idea of the number of people to expect on a given day?
Right, and that's probably true.
Yeah,
I'm sure that is true. So I don't know. I mean, they may increase the capacity, the park capacity, but I don't know, that may be here to stay.
Yeah.
Who's to say? But they can always shorten it if they need to, Tina.
But all right. Yeah. Thanks again, everyone. Mom, do you have anything you wanted to say before we hop off?
I think that's it. I think we got it.
Well, thanks again, everyone, for joining us today. And as always, please hurry back. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
For joining us.
Till the spire.
Till the spires, travelers.